From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OSU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Kyle Fredrickson. Kyle, spring football, believe it or not, is here. March 7th, Monday, is the Cowboys' opening spring practice, and we'll obviously be watching several storylines, but I think at the top, maybe always at the top, is quarterback.
Right.
And it is, once again, what will you be looking for in terms of Mason Rudolph?
Well, is he healthy? Does he have that same mobility? We saw him in the Sugar Bowl, just a month removed from having that surgery, a fracture in his foot, to the point where he played well. We saw some of that mobility come back, but by no means was he the fully healthy Mason Rudolph we saw throughout the year, through that 10-game winning streak the Cowboys went on. So, it's what we see in spring practices isn't going to be necessarily indicative of how the season's going to go.
Sure.
We got plenty more months to see where he's at, but this will at least give coaches kind of an idea of how far along he is and kind of what schedule he needs to be on moving forward. And when we talk quarterbacks, we've got to talk about the guys back up to him as well, and John Kolar, how much has he developed with first year in this program, being a redshirt. He enters this season as, I think, that clear-cut number 2 guy. Keandre Woodtee, the Cowboys' single quarterback signing in this class, might have something to say about that come fall. But as of this point, I think the Cowboys like what they have at those 1-2 spots. But yes, it will be interesting to see just how far along Mason Rudolph is and making sure that he doesn't have a setback as the Cowboys head in the fall.
Well, while we're on the offensive side of the ball, let's talk about pass catchers, because one of the most consistent pass catchers the last few years, and definitely for Rudolph, was David Glidden. Now he is gone, graduated, seemed like he was there forever, like several other guys along the line. But is there an obvious guy to step into the void left by David Glidden?
Well, it sure seems like Jalen McCleskey. We didn't see him a whole lot on the offensive side of the ball last year, a little bit in that slot receiver position. But like you said, Glidden was just so reliable. I mean, 57 catches, led the Cowboys this past season, was such a perfect safety valve for Mason Rudolph on some of those plays where he had to extend the play and get outside the pocket. Glidden just came with those football smarts and able to find that open space. McCleskey's unproven, but they certainly like what he brings to the table. We saw his 1 punt return touchdown at Texas Tech, so he has kind of some speed once he gets into that open space to make guys miss. But a lot to prove for him, and I think if he's maybe not the answer, the Cowboys might even see what Dylan Stoner can bring them. The Jenks product, he's a freshman coming in this year, played every position out there in Tulsa, so he certainly comes with a varied skill set, but a guy they really like in the inside. So they've got a couple options, but no doubt they're going to miss Glidden in that locker room.
Switching over to defense, obviously some key players gone. I mean, you talk about the defensive ends. You lost Bean early in the year, and then obviously Ogba going to the NFL. But it seems like the secondary is the area where you really have to look at who's replacing guys. The cornerback positions are a big question mark. Right.
When you lose Michael Hunter and Kevin Peterson, 2 guys who were really stalwarts of this secondary this past year, you wonder who's going to step in and fill that mold. The easy conclusion would be a guy in Ramon Richards, who played so much as a freshman, but I don't think the spot is his. I think Ashton Lampkin really has solidified himself as the number 1 cornerback, at least going into spring. But you got Richards. Jarrell Morrow is a guy who's played a little bit of safety, has played some spot duty in the secondary. He's a very highly recruited guy who came in with a lot of stars, but really hasn't made his mark. This might be his opportunity. Kevin Henry's another young defensive back that the Cowboys signed in this last class. They're very high on. So it'll be interesting to see how that depth chart shakes out, because at safety they're set with Jordan Stearns and Trey Flowers. Those are multi-year starters who come back. But losing a guy like Kevin Peterson, it's really not going to be easy to replace him moving forward.
Definitely so. Lots of questions in the spring. Again, Cowboys start on Monday with their first practice of the spring. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.